Welcome to Exploring Santa Cruz. I have two very special guests with me today, and they're representing the Fire Safe Council of Santa Cruz County. I have Ed Hayes, who's the Vice President of the Fire Safe Council. Welcome, Ed.
Glad to be here.
And also Liz Ann Jensen, who is the Treasurer of the Fire Safe Council of Santa Cruz. So welcome to you, Liz Ann.
Hello, Jean. It's nice to be here.
Thank you, and I appreciate you both being here. Perhaps you could begin just by explaining what is the Fire Safe Council of Santa Cruz?
Well, Fire Safe Council of Santa Cruz was set up about 3 years ago at the request of the Board of Supervisors for the county. And the mission of the council is to educate and mobilize the people of Santa Cruz County to protect their community, their homes, and environment from wildfire, so that in the event of wildfire in the county, there's no life lost, damage to property is minimized, and natural systems, our ecosystems, are in a position to be able to recover. So that was what we were done for.
That's your mission. And Liz Ann, I know that there's also something called the Fire Wise groups here in Santa Cruz. Some people may be a bit confused about the two organizations. Perhaps you could just very briefly explain the difference.
Well, the Fire Safe Council of Santa Cruz County is a county-wide organization whose goal is to educate people throughout the county. Fire Wise communities are part of a nationally based program that's really kind of grassroots in nature and is designed to work in neighborhoods or small communities to do the work necessary to protect their homes from wildfire.
So the two are doing different functions, but they're mutually supportive.
That's correct.
Now, I know that your organization has just received a really major grant, and perhaps you can explain what it's for, how it came about, and what's going to be happening soon. And let me just ask you this. Is this the official or unofficial, but the first real announcement to the public of what you're going to be doing?
Yes, this is our first announcement. This is true.
So this is a K-Squid first here.
This is a first. It's a first for the council as well. I think it was May, we were contacted by California State Automobile Association Insurance Group, and they were offering grants to various fire safe councils in the area. What they were trying to do is find out what it's going to take to incentivize homeowners to actually go out and harden their homes. And by hardening, that means how to protect your house itself against the ravages of a wildfire. So the proposal that we submitted, I think it was in June, we submitted it in June. This is our first application for a grant. So it took us a while. We put it together. Our proposal included all of Santa Cruz County. And what we are trying to do is incentivize people to do this through a series of workshops that we are going to present in October. Liz Ann can talk a little bit more about that. But as part of it, we've also gone to businesses within the community that provide materials that can be used, so that are fireproof or fire resistant, such as cement boards that on your outside of your house, using that in lieu of wood. Also deck materials that are fire resistant or fire retardant. These are two of the major areas that we would try to incentivize people on. So we've gone to lumber and hardware stores in the county, and they are participating by offering discounts to people that participate in our program. So our presentations are going to teach people about how to do this, and then businesses will back it up with incentives by discounting. Maybe I'll let Liz Ann go on a little bit more about that.
Sure. We're doing 6 presentations, and we've been very lucky to get Jana Valakovic, who is a noted expert in helping people prepare their homes to better withstand wildfires. And she is coming down and doing our 2 inaugural talks.
Let me just break in here and say that I went on the internet and looked for a YouTube video for Jana Valakovic, and she's great. I would just like to tell everybody, if you want to go on YouTube before you have the opportunity to actually meet her and hear her in person, look for a 2018 YouTube video called Living with Fire Symposium. It's going to make you want to go to the presentations that she's going to be making when she comes down.
Yeah, I was actually there in Sonoma when she did that presentation. It was something they did after the big fires in the Sonoma area. And a lot of people up there were very interested in learning things they could do to protect their homes. So she was one of the keynote speakers.
So she's going to come down and give 2 talks?
That's correct. She'll be here on October 22nd. We're still coordinating the final touches on the venue, so we'll have that on our website shortly. But she'll be talking specifically about things you can do to harden your home. And then what we're doing is we're going to supply her with photos, mainly of our board members' homes. And after her presentation, all the people in the audience will look at the homes and talk about things that those people could do that they're observing based on the training they've received to improve the viability of their homes for fire.
And where is she going to speak? Because you've got the entire county to try and cover and convince and bring people in. How are you going to do that, and where will she be? One in the north, one in the south? How's that going to work?
Yes, we're hoping to have one up in the San Lorenzo Valley. Also, a lot of people in the Summit area are very interested in this, so we're hoping to do one up at the Loma Prieta School up there. We're also going to be doing some in Watsonville, Corralitos, Aptos, and one here in Santa Cruz.
And she'll be present at all of those?
She will not. She will be here for 2 of them, but then we will be using her presentation and format to do the other 4.
How is the timing going to be? First of all, how are you going to get the word out? How are you going to bring the folks in? I mean, we've started with this announcement on Case Good, but then what comes afterwards?
Well, one of the things we're doing is we're very interested in getting architects, landscape architects, contractors, realtors, and insurers to attend one of our presentations. Home design, the kind of landscaping you do around it, master gardeners, all of them can learn important, easy-to-learn tips on things you can do to make your home safer in the event of fire.
So additionally, we're going to have announcements in the Sentinel newspaper. Each of the businesses that we are that are participating, we are going to have a poster on their board or bulletin board as you enter the stores. So hopefully catch people that are going to the lumber stores right away. We have a social media campaign that we want to do on Facebook in particular. So I think that's our main way of getting it out.
And this is going to be starting as of today?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a kickoff, and a majority of it you're going to see probably starting next week and then first week of October.
So people will go to these presentations and get some idea as to what they need to do for their own homes to improve the safety of the homes in the event of wildfire. And then what follows on from that?
Well, once they've learned and hopefully they are incentivized to go forward, one other part of our whole program is to then follow what happens. We're going to be issuing certificates at the presentations. They will also be available on our website. These are the certificates you'll take to the lumber yards to get your discount. The lumber yards are going to keep those so that we can collect those from there and keep track of how many people actually participate in doing some home hardening. And then in January, we're going to follow up with a survey to each person that came to any presentation. So if you come to our presentations, we're hoping to get your information, like your email and possibly your address, but most likely just an area where you live so that we can see which areas are more responsive than others. We're going to survey each individual, and then we're going to try to put a report together that analyzes what happened.
So to get the certificates, you go to one of the presentations. But if you don't go to a presentation, can you still get a certificate?
You can still get a certificate by going to our website and downloading that certificate.
And would this be 10% off of anything that you buy?
No, it'll be specific to the home hardening materials themselves.
Right. But
So
anything that you would
anything
buy?
that you buy, each lumber yard is going to have a list there of the materials that qualify. I don't know the names of all of the material suppliers themselves yet, but materials similar to the cement boards that are used. Then there's decking materials. There's screening that you'll use for vents in your attics. There'll be roofing, so different roofing supplies. Probably part of the home hardening that we're going to espouse is the first 5 feet around your home should be hardened to the point where there's nothing flammable at all. So this could be concrete or rocks or some sort of a non-flammable material, sand. So all of those will be available as well for the first 5 feet. Then you have your siding, which could be either a stucco siding or it could be probably what they call a hardy board is a manufacturer's name right now that's used. But there are others that are similar, and those are all non-flammable. So those are all the materials that would be available.
Now you're talking about major renovations here. If you're going to change the entire outside siding of your house.
This is true. So this is part of looking at it. Now, I mean, everybody is going to make their own decisions about this, obviously. But if you look at most of the homes that have been built in the last 50 years in what they call the WUI area, their wildlife interface area, most of them all were built out of wood. And that's wood is what burns. And what we're finding is that as fires are hotter and hotter, the combustibility of the wood siding is very dangerous. And so some of the first parts of the house that will burn. So some people have to consider doing this.
Lizanne, did you want to add something?
Yeah, that is an ultimate goal, but there is a lot you can do by simply clearing vegetation away from your home so that the fire does not get right up to your house. That makes the wood siding more vulnerable, but if you have this 5-foot clearance around your house, that also can help without having to do that extensive a thing. There's lots of smaller projects you can do. You can put spark arresters on your chimney.
What is a spark arrestor?
That keeps embers from going out of your chimney or embers in a firestorm going down into your chimney. You can put in metal gutters. You can put in gutter guards. Probably the most vulnerable part of a home is if you have gutters that are full of leaves or other debris. When the embers blow in, they can catch that on fire. So there'll be supplies available to improve your gutters, put flashing around them, and things like that.
Can you talk a bit about the ember storm? Because that was a surprise. Most people think the fire comes through, it's this big tsunami of fire going up as high as you can see it, and it's going to sweep over your house and destroy it. But in actual fact, that's not really the way it happens. Is that correct?
Yes, and I am not the expert that Jana is, and she can speak to this much more clearly than I can. But embers do seem to be the problem. They can precede the firewall coming through. They preheat the area. If there's any litter, leaves, pine needles, things like that, those can easily catch fire. So on your roof, if you have angles of roof where you have dormer windows, you can get leaf accumulation or litter if you live under the redwood trees. And those are things that, as part of your home hardening campaign, you can simply just go off and sweep off your roof, and that will do quite a bit to protect your home. So while doing things like siding and things like that are very important, there are less expensive things you can do to make your home safer as well.
What about sweeping under your decks?
Absolutely, and don't store your lumber or firewood under your deck. They should be about 30 feet from your home, and keeping the area under wooden decks clear of anything is also a very good thing to do and highly recommended.
And what about the things on your decks that we all have there?
You know, my husband and I, we had the Martin fire very close to our home about 10 years ago, and that was our wake-up call. And what we have been doing ever since is a little bit every year. It's not something you can do all at one time, but if you work on these projects little by little, and that's one of the good things with the Firewise groups, they actually help you prioritize your projects depending on your budget, your motivation, your timing, and help you work incrementally in doing things to make your home safer over a period of time.
I would actually be interested to hear, because I've also seen a video that was made by your husband talking about the preparations that you have done for your own home because of the fire. I'd really like to hear each of you talk about the personal experiences you've had, because it's my feeling that people get quite enthusiastic and rather frightened when something like the Paradise Fire happens, but then it kind of begins to fade away and the motivation begins to slip. So I kind of like to know how your personal experiences have brought you to your own understanding.
Let's go back to the Ember thing. When you start, what CAL FIRE has been telling us is that the fires, such as in 17 and 18 in Paradise and Santa Rosa in particular, they're all acting different than they used to. And what is happening is these fires are so hot now that they're creating a windstorm that blows embers in front of the pace of the fire. And if you can think about a 40-mile-an-hour wind with hot embers flowing at you, you can understand that these embers get into all the little nooks and crannies around your house. And this is why they're beginning to recommend, first of all, your defensible space around your home, which can go out to 100 to 200 feet, where you try to knock down the vegetation first and keep the fire from coming on the ground at you. One of the things in Jana's video that caught me is she said, how do you start a campfire? You don't start with a big chunk of wood. You start with little pieces of paper or little moss, and then you put a spark to it, and then that grows. And so start to think about that around your house. So what I've done around my house is cleared the I've actually gone 7 or 8 feet out from my house and made sure that there's no dry leaves, no grass whatsoever. Most cases I just have dirt, but in some places I've put rock just to make sure. But it's a constant thing to do, is to get out there and keep it away. If you live in the woods, you know that leaves are always falling on the house. So the gutters, as Lizanne just mentioned, have to be cleaned out on a regular basis. You think about if a windstorm of embers are coming, they're going to catch in the gutters, and the gutters catch on fire, and most of the gutters are right next to the eaves of the house. And the biggest thing is that fire will now seep under the roof. You know, you may have a nice metal roof, or you might have a composition fire retardant roof, but the embers will sneak underneath, and now they're burning in your attic. And that's how most house fires start. So it's like Lizanne said, I mean, home hardening, yes, there's big projects, but there's also little projects that are a constant thing to have to look at.
And your own experience?
Well, I haven't had a fire yet.
I'm very glad to know that.
But I have been scared a couple of times. There has been, I live up on Skyline Boulevard, just off of it, and we've had a fire just last week. We were notified to be prepared to be evacuated. Luckily, they put it out within a few hours, but you could see the smoke, and you could see it down in the valley coming at you. So some of that experience was, I am so glad that I've gone out almost 150 feet from my house down the hill, and particularly down a slope, and cleared it to what's recommended. Mine's a little tighter, but 4 inches, no higher than 4 inches of grass. And all of my trees are limbed up to 12 feet above the ground, and there's no vegetation on the ground so to burn up that way.
And there's nothing on your porch like a beautiful rose bush that you just love watching every spring, nothing like that?
Oh, it's there. I mean, nobody's saying you can't have things like that. You can't just have no decks.
So how do you balance that? How do you know what stays
if
and
you
what
have them
goes?
separated and they're not dry? I mean, a green plant won't burn and cause a huge torch. It's the dry brush that explodes in a fire. It's not your typical house plant that you might have on your porch. Those, if they're separated and they're not right up against the house, so mine are mostly out on the far reaches of the porch. Nobody's saying don't do that. You still have to live here. We're not, nobody's saying that, you have to just have a brick house. And so I let Lizanne.
Lizanne, you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's why we're so interested in getting architect, landscape designers, and master gardeners here. There are a lot of creative approaches to having a beautiful home, but also making it fire safe. And that's one of the things we're very keen on educating people on how to do.
So you're going to be educating not just the homeowners, but also the landscapers, the architects, the designers.
I see it more as a collaboration. They're going to have ideas coming from their perspective, and we're going to have ideas, and sometimes meshing the two of them together is where you get the best ideas of all.
I mean, you've mentioned that you're going to go on social media, etc., but is there an address that we should be giving to people so that they can go to that and get all the information so they know what to do, where to go, when?
Our website is www.firesafesantacruz.org. It's a little shorter than our overall name. And we should shortly have more information on how to print out the certificates, where the events are going to be held. And also, we have a brand new brochure that will be premiering at the Rio this coming Thursday evening during the California on Fire presentation there. We have a little booth outside the presentation, and it has a whole bunch of information on how to protect your home, how to create defensible space, and if you get an evacuation warning, the kind of steps you can be taking to prepare yourself in case you have to evacuate.
So that's this Thursday in front of the Rio, where there's going to be an event that's worth people's while to go to and to learn a bit more about all of this.
I have not heard the speakers directly, but I have heard they're really great, so I'm really excited to attend it as well.
And can people get more than one certificate, or is it one per person?
It's one per household.
One per household. And then I think I remember you said something about a drawing at some point. That's another motivation for people to participate.
Yeah, I actually forgot that. But after our survey is completed, what we're hoping that as part of that, people who actually gone out and done work on their house, we're going to ask them to submit pictures of before and after and tell us what they did. And each person that does that will be put into a group based on what they did. So if people did siding, they'll be in one group, roofing or smaller projects, and then we're gonna have a drawing, and they will win a prize. It's going to be on a sliding scale, and they could win, a couple $100.
Lizanne, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, and the other thing is we're hoping to make a repository on our website of different creative processes people have gone through, illustrated through photos of what they've done, that will be a place where other people can go and get great ideas on things they can do for themselves.
Well, I think with that, we're probably going to have to wrap it up, but thank you very much. You've given us a lot of information, and I hope there's a lot of people listening out there who are thinking, yes, I'm going to participate. This is something I want to do. So thank you both very much.
Yeah, this was a pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for helping us.
Well, you're very welcome. And I just wanted to remind everyone that you are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz. That's K-Squid 90.7 FM. And we're on the web 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at ksqd.org. So thank you all very much. And I thank my guests for coming.